let's get to some game news, which is going to be
Some game
dominated
news.
by the Xbox event.
Shocker.
The Xbox event
had their
this
first
week.
party showcase.
Yeah.
After much anticipation.
I'm just trying to pull up a list of what they showed.
My internet's being full of... Oh, there we go. The page loaded.
There we go. I got it.
I wonder... Oh, yeah, this is the pre-show stuff.
Yeah, so there was some... Okay, so there was one thing from the pre-show that I thought was really cool. What is it called? Balan Wonderworld? Was it Wonderland?
Yeah. Balan Wonderworld. It's made by...
Yes.
I think it's the dude. It was two. I know they showed two guys. Was the one dude the guy who made Sonic?
It's both of them are. So
they're both. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a game directed by Yuji Naka and Noto Oshima, who were both co-creators of Sonic the Hedgehog and Nights into Dreams. Sorry.
Okay. That makes sense.
And they haven't worked together since Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay. So it's like a 3D action platformer. Looks a lot like a 3D Mario, or a lot like Nights and Dreams. But what's cool is that it's sort of like a video game version of like musical theater. So it's got this like really strange like setting and lots of cool music. And a lot of your platforming and attacks is based on like what costumes you're wearing, so you can cycle through costumes, and that's how you like kind of progress in the game. So it looks really cool. It's got a really nice message behind it. The Yuji Naka was basically like, we wanted to make a game that kind of shows like the difficulties people have like mentally and emotionally, and how you can overcome that through the game. So it looks really wholesome and really nice, and
I think wholesome's the right word for it.
Yeah,
it's very
It looks very wholesome, very colorful as well. Like very beautiful looking game. So that's coming in 2021 on like all consoles. So that was
all the things.
That was like the big thing from the pre-show that I thought looked really fun.
Was that on the pre-show though? I thought that was shown.
No, it was shown in the pre-show. Yeah, it was shown.
So I'm getting the two mixed. It was towards the end of the pre-show.
Yes, it was like the last big thing from the pre-show. Yeah,
cool.
But yeah, then Microsoft had their hour-long stream, which
main event.
I thought it was good overall. They still lack the cachet of the like heavy hitters from Sony, but I think if you look at Sony's event, all their big first-party games were all sequels. But sequels to like really beloved properties, so it's like
look, that's fair. I think Microsoft they lay like we've known this for the past 2-3 years now, whatever. They're laying the groundwork, or they've laid the groundwork for these big first party exclusives. It's going to take time before we see that come to fruition. Look, I think the way you summed it up was perfect. Like, it was okay to me, but It lacks that like weight. There were very few games that made me go like, holy shit, like I have to play that.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like not necessarily PlayStation 5 or whatever, but there've been just conferences in the past where you watch like, oh my god, I can't wait to play that. I can't wait to play that. Holy shit, I can't wait to play that. And it just felt like it was. I mean, personally, there were just a few things like, yeah, it looks cool. Like Forza Motorsport as an example. I'm like, look, I know those are great racing games. Let's see what it looks like. And they don't even show like a single race or lap. And I was like, it's a bit underwhelming.
So that was the lack of gameplay again, coupled with the fact that a lot of these first party games didn't have Xbox One in there. Like, after each game, they had, the title, and they showed the platforms at the bottom. And there was a clear distinction between ones that were like Series X and PC, and ones that were like Xbox One, Series X, and PC. And I think a lot of people only started noticing midway through the stream that a lot of the exclusives did not mention Xbox One, which means one of two things. Either Microsoft is like, strangely, it makes no sense, but backpedaling on that promise that, within the first year or two of the Xbox Series X being out, that all games will be cross-generational.
Mm.
And I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that a lot of these games are
it's-
just not coming out in the next 2 years.
No, I also think it's it because I mean we haven't seen gameplay for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
It really was like here's a cinematic, and it's like it's not coming to Xbox One. It's like
Yeah.
well, it's
I mean,
still,
with
like, 2
Forza
years away at
Motorsport,
least.
I assumed, I was like, well, this is going to be a launch game. And they were like, no, we're in
Mm.
early development. I was like, what?
Which
like-
I thought was weird because when did Forza Horizon 4 come out? Was it last year or the year before?
The year before. I'm also
Yeah,
like very confused as to why it's early development now. Like, I don't
Because like
get it.
let's be honest, like Forza Motorsports is not a surprise. Like we
Oh, no,
all know
no.
that's how they cycle. They go between like the more casual Horizon to Motorsport.
And then the Motorsport. Yeah, it's their Gran Turismo. It's like the eye candy game. And like, if that eye candy game, sure, it's only coming to Series X maybe, but if it's not out for another 2 years, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I don't get that.
Sidebar, I hate that they just called it Forza Motorsports.
Yeah, listen. There's a lot of naming conventions here that I did not like.
I'm so over this. Like, if you're rebooting a game, that is absolutely fine. But do not. I mean, I don't think it's a reboot. Maybe they just called it Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
But call it something. Give it like if you don't want to give it like a number. That's fine. Call it Forza Motorsport, like World, Forza Motorsport, New Beginning, something. I don't know, but like I just don't like this thing. Like even like God of War is a good example. It's a reboot, but
Yeah.
it's not
It's just God
the
of War.
original God of
Yeah.
War. It's I don't
It's
know.
a,
I
it's
don't
an
like
SEO
that, but
nightmare. Like I
I know,
mean,
it's-
I don't have to deal with that on GameSpot, but I know all the SEO editors just like after this conference, they're just
cry.
like fucking hell, just like Forza Motorsport, and then just like straight up just Fable. It's like, guys,
yeah,
you're
Oh, yeah,
making our
Fable's
job
another
so
good one.
hard.
yeah. Okay, let's run through the main announcements.
Yeah,
so
so-
they started off the showcase with
Halo Infinite. Yeah,
At long
I mean,
last,
not
we
a
get to see the
surprise.
game.
That was like their headline. Like, we are going to show Halo Infinite gameplay. Finally, you know, they've been talking about this game for like 5 years. 343 made a new engine for it. Blah 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 blah. I liked the gameplay, but at the same time, I also understand why people are shitting on it. Like, I think it is a very, very hard turn into what Halo used to be after the very negative reaction to Halo 5. I thought Halo 5's campaign was bad. Like, legitimately, I love the multiplayer in Halo 5. I think the campaign is easily the worst in the franchise, and it's like the worst by a margin. It's like really not a good campaign. So it feels like they were like, hey, remember Halo 1? Yeah, that shit was cool, right? Check out this shit. Because this game looks like Halo 1. Oh my god.
That's exactly it. So like one thing I think is really nice is the cover art that was revealed.
Yeah, it's like a homage to the first one.
That's really nice. Like it is like a hey, this is what Halo 1 was. Like we now in 2020, this is where we've come from, whatever. But as someone I've only played Halo 1. Okay. I've missed Halo 2 and all the others in between because I've never owned an Xbox, just never got around to them on PC. And I promise you, I was watching the Halo Infinite gameplay, I was like, this is Halo 1 in 2020. It's like...
It almost looks like a remake, legitimately.
It's like a remake, yeah. And like, sure, it looks pretty, but I'm like, I don't know, these mechanics seem very dated. Like, I get it. The Halo loop is fun. Like, I understand the appeal of like running into a bunch of enemies, throwing a sticky grenade, cycling through weapons, picking up different ones because you can only keep 2 at a time. Like, I really understand that. But it just feels like Doom's a very good example of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal took what Doom is, which is all fast paced. It's literally just about killing enemies, but they modernized it and they like added their own polish to it and they added different mechanics to like really make it fresh. And it feels like it's different. It's the same thing, but it feels different and fresh. I don't know. I think a lot of people, I know I did, thought that Halo Infinite would give what God of War did to that franchise. It's like, it's the same character, the same universe, but it's like, it's been reinvented in some way.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, that's my own expectation letting me down. Like, it's unfair of me to put that on the game and be like, oh, well, it's not that, so I'm disappointed. But you can't get away from the fact that it looks like Halo 1 with the modern coats of polish. Like, it really looks like it's the same game to me.
I think they were stuck between like two really difficult points where they really tried something different with Halo 5, and it just did not
people
work
didn't
like at
it,
all.
Yeah.
So not only did they not attract a new audience with Halo 5 because they kept the gameplay the same, they just took a different approach to storytelling. So they didn't bring in new people, but they then alienated like long-time fans of the series at the same time. So I think they were looking at this and going, well, we can only really target one of those people again now. So
Yeah, no, that's
I think
fair.
this is like a case of like, we want to bring back the people that we lost in Halo 5 and not necessarily like, you should play this Halo if you didn't like previous Halos. And I think that definitely makes it disappointing because there is a way to do both. I think Breath of the Wild is a good example. And I think, like you say, God of War is a good example of doing both. I just think they didn't do that here. Well, from what I can tell. And it looks like it is nostalgia fuel 101.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like super amped by it because like I love Halo. And I like the change that they made because it's not like open world. Like I need to see more of that because if it turns into like, oh yeah, this is Halo just with the Far Cry format, I'm going to be disappointed by that because that's like that is missing the point of what makes a game like Breath of the Wild take an established formula and make it work in an open world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people also really didn't like the way it looked. I think it's a tough one because like I watched it back in 4K. Like the stream did it no favors. And in 4K it looks a lot better. It also you got to admit that it's like it's running at 4K. It's running at 60 frames per second, so it's like really really fluid. But I also think their art style doesn't do them favors. They've moved away from this realistic looking art style from Halo 4 and 5. And someone, I think it was a Eurogamer article, they actually said they're like, that this looks like the Mega Bloks version of Halo. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. They've kind of like accentuated the wrong parts of character designs and colors. And it just looks all very like plasticky and fake. And then it wasn't helped at all by the approved screenshots that Microsoft put out. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with some of those because there are some bad screenshots, like really bad.
But I mean,
I think it's also like a problem of like cross-gen. This is what people were fearing, and it's come to bear.
That's exactly my thinking as was that it's actually like the game's pretty. Don't get me wrong. But the art style is letting it down. And I think it's like all over Reddit, people were comparing this to like The Last of Us, which honestly I think is a very unfair comparison.
Very unfair, yeah.
The Last of Us is really like, hey, we are hyper realistic. Like these character models, we've done it so that you can see their wrinkles, their pores, like every single tiny little detail.
It's also a different style of game. It's like not open world. It's a different style of game.
So... And you're comparing that to Master Chief, who's this dude in a big suit of armor fighting aliens. I'm like, guys, like that's an unfair comparison. Like it's one thing shitting on a game because it doesn't look nice, but I do think Halo Infinite, like you said, I also watched it back in 4K. I was like, it runs smoothly, it looks pretty, but it doesn't have that hyper realism. And sorry, that's not what they're going for.
But I think it's 100% like fine for people to look at it and be like, this doesn't scream next gen, because it doesn't. Like
it doesn't. No, in that regard, it definitely doesn't.
And it doesn't because it's not technically full next gen. It's a cross gen game, and like I've been saying for weeks that I think cross gen is the right move for Microsoft where they are, and I still believe that. Like I still think yes, you're gonna have these issues where the games can't make full use of the new hardware because they still have to run on a 7-year-old console, but this just goes back into like all those other exclusives don't look like they're coming out for 2 years. So cross-gen is looking more and more like a stopgap to kind of make that period seem less empty. Because I think if they went the Sony route and just like made a hard cut, they'd be in big trouble. And it's logical. Like people are like, oh, they bought these studios 2-3 years ago. It's like, yeah, that's not a lot of time.
It takes time,
it's
man.
not a lot of time for these studios to come in, to pitch new ideas, to, you know, for Microsoft to like build this idea of like, we are going to make these big blockbuster games, you know, whereas Sony has all these sequels to these established properties which have been in development for a while. Like Horizon's been in dev for a long time, so has Ratchet and Clank. So it's like a very different space that they're in. And I think it's good to contextualize it like that. It's not to say I'm making excuses for Microsoft, because I think, you know, they already have to be on the defensive with Halo Infinite, which I assume isn't where they want it to be. But like, you have to understand what they're trying to do at the same time, and at least give it the time to see if it pans out, if anything. What's weird is also this is now going to be a platform for Halo for the next 10 years or so. Like, they're moving away from standalone sequels, and they're going to release new campaigns under this. And this is what makes me question things a little bit, because if your platform starts out being as cross-gen, like, how do you eventually transition away from that? It's an interesting problem.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, like, I suppose the one good example, I guess, is World of Warcraft. Which has just been chugging along forever now. But yeah, look, it's a weird time. And it's not that Microsoft are wrong. It's because, like, a lot of people say, like, oh no, but Sony are doing this thing. It's like they've just got different approaches to
especially when you consider every game at their showcase is coming to Games Pass. So that's really the product they're selling.
And let's not forget that last week they announced that xCloud is bundled with the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Makes you think, like, shit, I can play everything I saw on the showcase on my phone one day. Like,
I think it's
insane.
I think it's just a fact of like thinking about what is important again. Like, I think going into next gen, Microsoft is at least not really concerned about how many people buy the Series X initially. But again, you run into that same problem where it's like, I get it. Like, I get that they want more they're caring more about subscribers to Game Pass than they are about consoles they sell. But that still runs counter to like third-party development support, because then they're basically saying, unless you're on Game Pass, we have a very small, you know, user base that you can target. And then when they eventually do make that hard cut and drop Xbox One, like, you want to have a solid base of people who have the Series X. So what I think is they haven't given people a reason to buy Series X. They've given people a reason to buy Game Pass, but that only works for the first 2 years. After that, you need people with this new console or a PC. So what do you do then, you know?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Okay. It's interesting. Okay, but let's fly through these
the
other
next
big
few.
announcements.
Okay,
State
I'm
of
just going by the list I
Decay 3.
saw on GameSpot, so I don't know what order.
Okay.
What order you've got?
I've got State of Decay 3.
Okay,
next.
let's go with that. So that was just a CG trailer, and apparently in an interview afterwards, this game is still in pre-production, hence why it didn't have an Xbox One logo on it.
Get out.
But yeah, State of Decay 3, I mean, not much to glean from the trailer. I didn't like the second one that much when it launched, but I've heard it's become very, very good since.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
yeah.
I really like this trailer.
Yeah,
because
the
I thought it was
trailer's
like, holy
good.
shit,
The trailer's
that
like
sets
creepy
the tone,
and
like, oh my
cool.
god. Yeah. So we just have to wait for games.
Zombie deer. Zombie deer.
Oh my god, is there anything more terrifying?
Zombie deer. Yeah. We should
then
actually
we
play
had-
because it's co-op. We should give State of Decay 2 a try again, because I've heard good things
What
since it
is it on
launched.
Game Pass or something? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be, you know.
man, what's this?
What's the
Forza
next one?
Motorsports.
Yeah,
Again, CG trailer. Cool. Like
in engine
I get
apparently,
it.
but that doesn't
in
mean
engine,
shit.
but-
So,
Yeah.
but again, also does not have the Xbox One label, so might be a while away.
Long time away.
Yeah.
Everwild.
This looks
This
awesome.
looks super pretty.
It-
Who's making this again?
Rare, who made Sea of
Rare,
Thieves
that's
and
it,
stuff.
okay. Yeah.
Again, in an interview, they kind of suggested that they don't actually know what the gameplay is of this, which makes me think it's also like early in development. And I'm just like, you've put out 2 trailers and everyone's going, okay, but what is this game? Like, it looks beautiful and it looks, I don't know, are you just like chilling out with animals? Like on this,
But I mean, that makes me think of Sea of Thieves as well, because even when that launched, it was like, cool, you get to like sail the open seas and you there's like, I think you told me there's 3 missions that you can do, rinse and
Yeah.
repeat forever. And that was the game when it launched, and it was hit and miss for some people.
And it's become
now, though,
a thing again, like where it's just like had this
Yeah.
resurgence now.
Now they've spent some time fleshing out the game, and a lot of people really enjoy it. So it makes me wonder, like, maybe Everwild will launch, and it's like, we don't actually know what it is, but here it is.
Yeah.
And then spend the next few years just fleshing it out. So
Also another game with no Xbox One mentioned.
no Xbox
Like,
One mention.
do you see the pattern here? Like the only
Yeah.
exclusive, like a game studio exclusive with it, I think was Halo.
Yeah. Then I've
Next.
got Tell Me Why, new game
Yeah,
from Don't Pod.
So I didn't know that this was an exclusive to Xbox. I
Is
thought
it
it
an
was
exclusive?
multi-platform. Yeah, it's exclusive. It's not timed exclusive.
Ah.
It's straight up exclusive.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't
look,
know that either.
I've played, the only experience I've had with Don't Nod is I've played the first episode of Life is Strange season 1, and I really enjoyed it.
I need
but
to
know
play
that-
through that still. Apparently, it's so good.
Yeah, I know the games are like highly beloved by a lot of people, not only just for the stories and the characters, but also the music. They pick really good music. And
Yeah.
I think this trailer also it sounded like a great track. So I don't know. We'll see what it's like.
It's really good
looks
music.
interesting.
Yeah, it looks like a good emotional story. And the first episode is out. It's going to be 3 episodes. The first one is out on August 27th, and it will be on Game Pass. So, yeah, I think that's
Game Pass.
I mean, it's a brand new story. It's not connected to Life is Strange at all, so it's a good jumping on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Moon Studio logo was shown.
How
And I
excited
lost
did you
my
get?
shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, they're showing their next game already.
Yeah, I
And
got
it's
so
like, nope,
excited.
It's
Oh my
just
God.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps that's being optimized for Series X, which is cool because like I played Ori on PC, and they're going to update it to have even more
4K,
frames.
120 frames per second. Yeah.
Shit, like
It's
that,
really
that
good
game is-
because I've heard the performance even on Xbox One X hasn't really been fantastic.
Really?
Like, yeah.
okay.
So if they can achieve that, then that's awesome because that game is pretty AF.
It's weird to think that game can get even smoother though.
Yeah.
Like when you play it, it's like, this is perfect, but don't worry, they're going to double the frames. So,
They did a
okay.
really good job of showing like the difference between 60 and 120. Like the fluidity
that
of
is a
the animations
very-
is just
That's
incredible.
a very clever way of showcasing. It's like, it's literally just side by side.
Slowed down
animations.
footage. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I can see these extra frames showing now.
I think the
It's
difference is
clever.
like you look at the 60 frame side and you're like, I can see that it's slowed down footage, and you look at 120, it almost looks like it's not in slow motion because it's fluid. Like
It's super fluid.
I really wonder how they do that because the stream is only at 60 frames per second. So how do they showcase? I don't know. Video encoding is
but-
weird. I'd love
No,
to know how
but
that
it
works.
was slowed down though, I think so.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's slowed
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
What
else?
We got new Outer Worlds DLC, Peril on Gorgon.
Yeah, Peril on Gorgon. This was one of 3 Obsidian things that they showed. If you don't remember, Obsidian is now owned by Microsoft, but the Outer Worlds is published by the private division. So it still comes to all platforms, but the benefit of Microsoft owning this is that it's also on Game Pass.
On Game Pass.
Yeah. So this is
are
out
you
on
getting,
September
are you getting
9th,
a trend
the
here with this
DLC.
Game Pass thing? Like, I don't know. It sounds like an okay service.
Yeah, sounds like a cool. So I mean, every
It's
game we've
okay.
just spoken about is going to be on Game Pass on
Game
day
Pass.
one, which
So
just for $10 a month,
yeah, let's just put a pin on the announcements. My thing is like, even though a lot of these games don't speak to me, the fact that I can try them with Game Pass, not having to buy them, and like maybe have my opinion swayed, like, oh, that is actually a really good game. Like it's unreal. There's a lot, and this is just their first batch. of
That's the
first-party
thing.
titles, so it's-
I see people still coming around on this idea, and I feel like it happened when Netflix started. It was like, oh, Netflix doesn't have these like single bangers that make me want to subscribe to it, and it's like it's not really about that.
no, like that's a nice bonus, but
Yeah, it's
not
like
about that.
I mean, there was someone on Twitter who 100% I get where they're coming from. They were like, I've been subscribed, but I haven't really downloaded anything in the past few months. I'm like, I get that. But trust me, like, take 10 minutes to scroll through that library and just look at
You'll
something
find
and go,
something.
that looks interesting. Or, I kind of wanted to play this, but I wasn't really sure and I never bought it. To me, I've gotten so much value out of Game Pass just through that because it's like games like Bloodstained is on there, and
I need to play that. That's actually something I've been eyeing. I'm like, yes, it's there.
yeah,
I need to play it.
and like A Plague Tale, like we'll buy that. You know, just things that I never thought I'd give it a go. Slime Rancher was another one. So there's a lot of quality on there. People are like, oh, it's just third-party indie games. It's like, and
Hey,
there's fucking quality there, man.
So what?
Wait, why do you think the Switch is where it is now?
Oh my
Because
God,
of
yeah.
exclusives? No.
It's all the indie love, man. Jeez, like.
Yeah.
Okay, next game, Grounded. Is this also?
That's also the Obsidian. It's the Honey, I Shrunk My Kids thing.
I love that trailer. They're like, if you're waiting for the next big game, it's like Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
logo.
this isn't it.
It's like, this
Cyberpunk's
isn't it.
later this year. So
That is
funny.
so good.
But yeah, it's like
It
a
looks interesting.
multiplayer co-op survival game in a backyard plagued with bugs and
It's
spiders.
interesting.
So yeah,
Oh God,
it's out
spiders.
in game preview on July 28th, so you can give it a go.
Give it a
Let's see
bash.
if you
Next,
get the third Obsidian thing in a row.
Avowed.
Avowed.
Let me tell you, when this game was shown, and the dude pulled out his sword and he had a spell in his left hand, I was like, this is Elder Scrolls 6.
It does look
But
like
it's
it.
actually not. It's actually not. It's Obsidian's version of Elder Scrolls, I guess, because it looks like a first-person RPG.
Yeah, it's set within
Very
the
much in
Pillars
that
of
similar-
Eternity world, as far as I
Yeah.
can tell. To me, Halo Infinite is like the big thing for the Xbox Series X launch, but this is Microsoft's
this is
big
the
bet.
I think this is a sleeper hit, yeah.
Yeah, this
I
is
really
this
think-
is the big bet. If they can pull off something that is Skyrim-like and do it before Elder Scrolls 6, which I definitely think will happen because like we haven't even heard of Bethesda Starfield. Like
Hey, I've seen screenshots.
you've seen the logo, yes.
I've seen the logo. Okay, it's real.
But if they can do like a Skyrim and then it's like an exclusive, or because it will be an exclusive to Series X and PC, this is the sleeper hit. Like this
Yeah.
would be the thing that Sony doesn't have, because Sony has these amazing narrative-driven adventure games, but they don't have an RPG series on the scale. Like so, and Obsidian is one of the best studios in the world to do this. I mean, Fallout New Vegas is incredible. And they've done a lot of great storytelling with Pillars of Eternity. So I think this could be a big one. Also, no Xbox One label on it, so this will be
Shocker.
a while away, but man, I'm excited to see what this ends up being.
Okay, next game, As Dusk Falls, which
This looks cool.
it looks. Look, I don't know what the whole gameplay.
It's
is.
like a
Is it an
narrative game, I
interactive
think. It's like
story?
a
Yeah.
narrative adventure. But the art style, it's like
Art style's interesting.
it's like a watercolor painting type thing. It looks really beautiful. It's it's developed by an indie studio called Interior Night, and they have a lot of developers who come from Quantic Dream. So
Okay.
yeah, it will be an interactive drama, but it looks
Drama.
beautiful. It looks really, really nice. I'm keen to see this.
Okay, Crossfire X, which, as far as I know, is a game
It's like a
From
Counter-Strike.
China
Thing.
that is now being westernized.
Yeah,
I think.
so as far as I know, Crossfire X is like one of the biggest shooters in the world that the Western world just doesn't know about. It's like a Counter-Strike thing, but so that's coming to Xbox. But the big thing is that Remedy Entertainment, makers of Control and Alan Wake, they are busy making a campaign in Crossfire.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So that's going to be like a psychological and character-driven, first-person shooter campaign, which looks pretty
Take
cool. And it's coming
my
later
money.
this year. So yeah.
Psychonauts 2.
Man,
Did you ever play Psychonauts
this game looks
1?
fun. I never played the first one.
So look, I have no touch point with the franchise, but
Same.
Psychonauts 2 does look like
It looks fun.
it looks like something I'd enjoy.
It's got
like
so much color. It looks like an LSD trip in a platformer.
That's what being on drugs is like, let's be honest.
And they got Jack Black to come in and do a song for it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, oh my God, Brutal Legend 2, Now, especially now that Double Fine is owned by Microsoft as well. But
Microsoft, yeah.
Psychonauts 2 is one of those games, again, that will release on a bunch of platforms because it was announced for a bunch of platforms. So, yeah. But it looks fun. I feel like there's this resurgence of 3D platformers, so it might be hitting at the right time. So that's cool.
This dude's coming for Crash.
Yeah, God.
Watch your back, Crash. I mean, come on. Destiny 2 is coming to Xbox Game Pass.
This was big.
Which is a pretty big thing, because as someone who's been holding out on Destiny 2, I'm like, whew.
Yeah. It's a big thing because it's Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and mobile. They didn't mention PC yet. So I wonder if that's because it's only on Steam. You know what I mean?
I wonder.
But the big thing here is that you'll get all the expansions, and the brand new expansion, Beyond Light, coming out in November, will be launched on Game Pass as well, which is amazing.
Crazy.
Like, if you're a Destiny player, you can transfer your character to other platforms as well, so you don't have to lose your progress. But like, I think if you are primarily playing this game and you're looking to buy a new console, the Series X starts becoming more alluring, because like it will be more powerful and you'll get the expansions as part of Game Pass. So
you just take a character with you, or your characters, whatever.
I think that's a big get. That's a bigger get than people give credit for. Especially because Destiny 2 used to be so associated with Sony back when it was with Activision.
Yeah, it really was.
So, yeah.
Next announcement, Stalker 2,
Hell
which
yeah.
is such an interesting thing. So my office and I were watching the reveal event together, and at the back of my mind is like, it looks a bit like Metro, but it's clearly not Metro, because I mean Metro Exodus we just got, and then Noelle actually said it looks a lot like Stalker.
Yeah.
And the moment she said that, I was like, holy shit, you're actually right. It looks, I mean, I played Stalker. It's an old game. Like
very old.
Came out a long time ago, like super long ago. And the Stalker 2 logo came up. I was like, shit, that's like a kick of nostalgia right there.
And Stalker's a weird game. Like, I did not actually enjoy Stalker that much, but like, I appreciated a lot of the ideas. It's because it's more like an RPG than a shooter. It's But yeah,
that's coming.
This is happening. Apparently, the trailer they showed is not an engine or anything. It's kind of like a target of what they want to get to. So I think this game is still a long way away as well.
Away.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it is coming to, it's a third-party game, so it's not an exclusive, but it will launch. It will launch exclusively on Xbox platforms, and it will be part of Game Pass as well. So yeah,
get out. Next game, Warhammer 40k Darktide.
I'm so stoked for this. So
Shooty Mac shooter.
Man, you did you ever play Warhammer Vermintide?
No, but I should play it.
It's like Left 4 Dead, but in the Warhammer. So this is basically but in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I'm fucking down, because
good time.
I want to play as them Space Marines in a Left 4 Dead setting. I'm
shooting
super stoked for this one.
You down?
Yeah.
Okay, next game, Tetris Effect Connected.
Hell yes.
Okay, let me tell you, we had a hilarious moment when we were watching this. So it started off with world premiere exclusive.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues like, that's weird that this is a world premiere exclusive. And John Michael's like, of course it is. I've never seen these people before. Because the trailer was just a whole bunch of random people.
Yeah, it's like these people never existed before.
No, they've never existed before. They're exclusive.
As soon as I heard that music, I was like, "Oh hell yes, Tetris Effect!"
I didn't recognize the music, but the style of the particles that that looks very much like Tetris. And,
so Tetris Effect Connected is basically the single player game that was on PS4 and PC, but it's also going to include multiplayer now and some new tracks. So it is launching. It will come to other platforms eventually, but it has, I think, a 6-month exclusivity on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass.
Available on Game Pass. Yeah,
and it's out later this year. I can't wait to play some multiplayer Tetris Effect, because Tetris Effect is literally one of my favorite games ever. It's just so fucking good.
I need to still play it.
It's so good. It's like whenever I'm having a stressed out day and I don't know what to play, like that thing just, it zones me out in the best way. Yeah. It's so good.
It's a good time. Next game, The Gunk.
I'm keen for this purely because of who's making it.
Who's making it?
The creators of SteamWorld, Image and Form.
So, when you say the creators of SteamWorld, is this SteamWorld dig in those games?
Yeah. So they're all the same developers, even though they're all different games. It's all the same dev.
I wasn't sure, because I'm like, SteamWorld's like not at all a unique were like Steampunk and SteamWorld. Like to me, they're almost interchangeable. I didn't realize that. I loved SteamWorld Dig 2.
Yeah,
that is
SteamWorld Dig
really
2
great
is
game.
so good. Underrated
that's
gem.
my only touch point with these dudes, and shit, okay, I didn't know that. So yeah,
yeah, that's why I looked at it. I was like, this looks kind of cool, like an action platformer. And you like absorb gunk through your glove, which is interesting. But just because I know like SteamWorld, Heist, and Dig, and the card game Hand of Gilgamesh, they were all different genres and all really good. So like I trust Image and Form so much now that I'll play whatever they put out.
The next game, this one caught my attention, The Medium.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what the gameplay is like at all, but the trailer itself, it marks itself as this dual reality game. Now, I don't know what that means in practice, but let me tell you, what they showed looked incredible.
Yeah.
Like, really, really good.
So as far as I can tell, it's like a psychological horror type thing. It almost looks like Silent Hill.
Yeah, it's got like Silent Hill vibes, except my understanding is that in Silent Hill, it really was like you go through moments where you're just in the normal world and like the upside down. Sorry, for lack of a better term.
Stranger Things upside down.
Yeah. Whereas this, I don't know if you can like switch on the fly.
Yeah.
Or do you play this? Like, they don't really make that clear, but what they did show is like, here's this scene happening in this world. And then they like almost crossfade. It's like, here's the exact same scene happening in the other world. Like different lighting, different style, different everything. Not different style, sorry. Different.
It immediately reminds me of that level in Titanfall 2.
Yes, it's exactly that.
Yeah, or Dishonored 2 has a level that's similar. But yeah, I don't know if you can switch at any point, but the trailer made a big point of being like, these are two worlds rendered at the same time.
At the same time. So it makes me think that you have to switch.
Yeah.
Or have the ability to switch.
Yeah. It looks really, really cool. It's made by Bloober Team, who did Blair Witch, which I really didn't like. So I'm hoping this looks a lot more ambitious than their other stuff. So this is launching exclusively first on Xbox One as well. I think I don't know when it's coming out. They didn't say, but it looks really cool.
It looks awesome. Real cool. And also on Xbox Game Pass.
And Game Pass as well.
The theme of the showcase.
It's apparently really cheap on Steam right now. It's like $200.
Game Pass?
Yeah.
What? You can buy it on Steam?
Yeah, it's coming to Steam as well. But you can pre-order it on Steam and it's like $200.
Game. Sorry, I thought you meant Game Pass. I was like,
no,
Game Pass?
I mean, buy it now. Because like, you remember what happened with Horizon Zero Dawn? On
that
Steam,
actually it happened.
It happened on Epic as well.
Do you know that game? Hell Let Loose.
Did it get expensive again?
It was for the longest time. It was like 140 rand. Whatever. And then they had a free play weekend. This past weekend it was discounted to like 110 rand.
Yeah.
So I played. I also did play that. I didn't speak about it because I played it very little, but I do want to buy it. And out of nowhere, it's been bumped up to 380 rand. I'm like, oh shit! Like more than doubled in price. Like, how did that happen? It's still cheap, don't get me wrong, but I was like, oh, okay.
Well, Horizon was like, what, 270 rand on Steam, and now it's 600. And then on Epic, it was like $20, and now it's been pushed up to 40. So,
did it get... because I thought, if worst comes to worst, I'll just buy it on Epic.
Yeah, I was waiting to use the coupon, but you can't use it on pre-orders, and now they pushed up the price. It's like, oh.
No. Those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then last game of the Microsoft Showcase, Fable. To me, it wasn't a surprise because it's been rumored for 30,000 years, and I think this week I don't know if it was leaked or they were just
it's been rumored for like
whispers of it.
Yeah, like years. And even the Playground Games being the developer has been rumored for ages. So it wasn't like a surprise. And I guess with the rumors having been circulating for so long, I was expecting them to show more than just like literally the title.
Just the title.
Yeah, there was literally nothing there except like, hey, Fable. It was almost like if no one had heard that this was happening, it was going to be a big surprise. But it wasn't like Far Cry where it was leaked the week before. This has been like 2 years in circulation. Yeah. So again, also had no Xbox One logo. Like, yeah. I don't know.
It's interesting.
You did miss one game though. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. They showed
that. They showed that. It wasn't on my list.
They showed it again. They basically reconfirmed that it is using Unreal Engine 5, which just basically means that this game won't come out at the very least until end of next year, because the engine's only out next year. But it looks gorgeous, and I think the setting of Iceland looks stunning. So keen for that.
I really need to play Hellblade.
It's good.
It's good. Yeah, that was the Xbox showcase. That is we spent a lot of time on that.
I think that's just news for the week. There was other stuff, but like